Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at a mechanical keyboard from Skyloong. This is their GK104 Pro. What makes it a little bit more unique is there is a numpad that can serve double duty as a calculator with the built-in display on the keyboard itself. So I would say this model is geared a little bit more towards folks that work with numbers. If you are in accounting or in finance or some type of student working in mathematics, for example, this might be worth considering. In addition, they've also built in adjustable knobs like some of their earlier generation keyboards we've checked out before, which can be used to control things like volume, zoom in and zoom out of images, and there's even an optional second LCD screen that can be used to show other quick notification status. So kind of dual displays built onto this keyboard, making it pretty unique. That being said, because of, again, the built-in numpad, this is a full-sized layout. It's definitely not going to be the most compact keyboard we've ever seen, taking up just a little bit more space on your desk. And that secondary display can also be adjusted, swapped out with other keycaps and parts, so it's modular in that sense. That optional panel, by the way, measures 2 inches diagonally, and this is going to be a wireless keyboard as well that uses Bluetooth in addition to 2.4G with a nano USB receiver, as well as you can use it in a wired mode. Basically plug and play with any Mac OS, Windows, Linux, Chromebook machine out there, plus Android as well as iOS. iPads are also supported if you have a USB adapter. Now, they claim to be gasket mounted, so everything should be stabilized, and also using KTT Rose Pink switches. So these are going to be linear switches with 63 grams of activation force that should feel pretty smooth for things like typing as well as gaming, comparable to something like Gateron red switches, however not quite as loud or clicky as blue switches. And on the inside, we have, of course, just the keyboard itself that we'll take a closer look at here in a moment. Just one color, though, for the deck, which is in black. Usual quick user guide for setting it up, in addition to a plethora of different accessories, inclusive of an entire bag of replacement pink switches. That is quite generous, and they just snap into the board. Not to mention a whole bag, literally, of extra keycaps, although I think the keyboard already looks quite good with this kind of gradient finish getting progressively lighter across every single row, as you can tell there. Maybe the most important piece is the spacebar, because they also give you a normal one if you want to replace it with the split design here. And some final accessories include a keycap as well as a switch puller, so you can more easily remove those parts, as well as a USB Type-C to Type-A charging and data cable, and even an adapter that can transform the Type-A to another Type-C. So that's pretty much everything you will possibly need. Now, the keyboard itself, even though the deck is constructed out of polycarbonate plastic, instead of, say, metal, it still has a pretty reassuring heft to it, and some of the controls, including the key knobs, are built out of metal, so they feel quite tactile and precise as you are twisting on them and pressing them down. Looking quite clean, although all of the prints for the letters are actually slanted here on the edge, so it gives you a more maybe streamlined appearance if you're looking at it from the top down. Located on the right-hand side of the keyboard is going to be the switch that you can flick on to turn on separate features like the calculator that we'll see in a moment. This is what it looks like on the very back. We also get the Type-C port as well as another power switch, and this piece is accented in metal here. And on the back we have some soft-touch rubber feet that prevents it from sliding around onto a surface, and you can also pop up the feet for added elevation as you're typing. Last but not least, the aforementioned metal pieces can also be popped off. They are magnetic to get access to the nano receiver. If you're using it in the wireless mode without Bluetooth, you can just then plug this onto your computer and then it just stores away securely in here. Alright, so flicking the keyboard on, the displays here will wake up with a startup animation, actually looking quite good, and there's some RGB backlighting on the knobs as well, so everything is going to be pretty visible as you are using it in the dark, and again, because of the slanted keycaps, they are shining through on the edge, so you can still make them out when you are typing, but then up front, it still gives you a very clean presentation. Quite a unique keycap set, I would say. And also this display gives you a couple of quick statuses, such as the time information, the current battery percentage. The display will also time out after a couple of seconds to consume less power, and there are some sound effects as well that you can turn on and off based on your preferences. And over here on the calculator side, you can actually, again, press on this switch, depending on whether you want to actually use it as a calculator or if you want to just use it as a dedicated numpad. There is some duplication of data though. For example, the battery percentage at 70% is already shown on that main display, not to mention that, again, we are in the Bluetooth 1 pairing mode. So both of these are showing kind of similar status at times, but still looks really cool, I have to admit, from a design perspective. Moving into some settings and quick commands, we can tap on function and this kind of tilde key to change the layout on this display. So now it's going into a wallpaper mode. The screen being IPS LCD offers decent enough viewing angles and brightness as well for it to be visible. We can tap on it again to go into a APS curve. So this will tell us our typing speed, aka the number of keystrokes per second, and as I am kind of typing more slowly now, you'll see that graph also drop. So it can be kind of an interesting visualization for touch typists. As for disabling the talking mode in the calculator part, again, we're able to turn that off if you find it to be distracting by pressing function plus 0. So let's give that a shot. We'll tap on this, and now the voice has been turned off. As for backlighting controls, we can tap on function and 9 to basically turn it on or off. If I'm using it in a daytime environment, for example, I want to consume less power. Similarly, function up will increase the brightness of the backlight, as well as down will decrease the brightness, and left and right arrow keys will change the speed of the animation. So if we also dim some of the surrounding lights, you can see it move and ripple a little bit more quickly versus slowing it down onto almost a static frame if I am decreasing the speed. As for other animation patterns, we can tap on function and also kind of the minus key here to cycle through. So this will go into a white backlight, also looking decent, pretty clean, and then once again into a rainbow effect, but it's all going to be changing the same color simultaneously. Once more into kind of the spiral pattern. Let's also increase the animation speed once more, looking pretty neat as well. And then once more into a rippling pattern, a little bit more reminiscent of what we saw there from before, and then back and forth. And what's pretty thoughtful is all of these animation effects under the minus key, as you can tell, have all of the keys lit up simultaneously, so you can still make them out as you're typing, versus a couple of other effects they have separated into the plus key that are meant to be reactive modes. So now it's better categorized compared to a lot of past mechanical keyboards we've seen that takes all 10 of those effects, for example, and puts it into the same carousel. So you have to cycle back and forth a few more times versus now dividing them into two different folders, essentially, based on reactive versus always on. So let's go into the next mode here. This is going to be a rippling pattern that sprints outwards based on the letter that you're pressing on. This one here will ripple outwards in the other direction. That is also reacting to how loud the external noise is via a built-in microphone. And then once more into another visualization, but this time going from the edge of the keyboard. And then once more here from the other direction, also reacting to how I'm typing, and then going into the first mode. So those are all of the lighting effects, overall working quite nicely. And also tapping on function, and the 1 key here allows you to pair using the first Bluetooth profile. Similarly, tapping on function and 2, we can connect to a second device as well, for example our phone and also our computer. That being said, we have checked out other wireless mechanical keyboards in the past that seem to give you even more profile switching, in some cases up to 5 or even 6 Bluetooth devices that you can swap between, but this one is a little bit more constrained to just 2 or 3. Connectivity, though, seems to be working pretty well, and here's a quick example as I'm typing on the phone that's being connected to. Surprisingly, there's not too much latency here going on. However, if you are gaming, then obviously for the lowest latency, you would still want to use it in the wired mode. That will further decrease any lag or delay, but all in all, just for general typing, things like emails, even the Bluetooth profile is working actually quite well. And otherwise, this is a full-size, again, keyboard layout. So in addition to the regular QWERTY keys, we have dedicated function keys up top, making it easier to control different shortcuts, as well as adjust properties like volume, as you can tell there. Here's a quick demo of what the switches sound like. So I do like it. The overall volume, again, it's not too high, so if you're using it in a shared room or environment, it's not going to be too distracting to those around you, and at the same time, it still feels quite satisfying compared to an island, chiclet, or membrane keyboard. So like most mechanical keyboards, benefit here is that the switches can last for longer, and again, you can replace parts if they break down, making customization and repairability both better compared to an island keyboard, not to mention that the sensation just feels, again, more satisfying, so you can achieve a more comfortable visual typing experience, potentially faster as well. Last but not least, like other keyboards from Skyloong that we've seen in the past, you can download their companion software for Windows or Mac, providing you with the usual functions like customizing the backlight for each individual key, assigning different macro shortcut commands, as well as adjusting what the knobs will correspond to depending on the program. For example, again, zoom if you are in Photoshop. So all in all, it is working pretty much as expected. And this model in particular, I would say, is definitely unique from a design perspective. It combines a lot of those quirky attributes like a split spacebar that some folks would prefer, as well as, again, that secondary screen to show status information, and now even a built-in calculator on top of the knob controls. So if you're okay with having kind of a larger full-size layout, and you happen to like the way that it looks with the design scheme, I think it's not a bad choice. Definitely feels quite clacky, well stabilized because of the rubber gaskets, and also the keycaps themselves shine through, making them actually not too hard to use. Pretty comfortable and easy to master. So again, if you like the aesthetics, I would say the performance of this model mostly holds up. You can check out more details if you are interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Skyloong GK104 Pro wireless mechanical keyboard.